Hello, everybody. It's no coincidence that the legendary sports teams, those who've won multiple team championships, also had legendary team members. Think of the New York Yankees and the Boston Celtics. These two teams hold the records for the most team championships in baseball and basketball history, respectively. The players on these championship teams are among the most hallowed in their sport, earning places in their respective Hall of Fame. People like Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle, and Joe DiMaggio for the Yankees, Bill Russell, Bill Walton, and Larry Bird of the Boston Celtics. These teams, they found the right people for the right position and at the right time. Whether on the baseball field, the basketball court, or in the boardroom, the consequence of choosing the wrong person for the job or the team can be catastrophic. A person's unwillingness to do their own work can create additional work for others. Their inability to get along with others can create conflict among their colleagues, and their incapacity to improve upon their own knowledge and skills can affect the long-term growth of the organizations. They create a workplace and a work environment that's contentious, unproductive, and ineffective, which results in an escalating level of stress and resentment as the organization loses its competitive and strategic strengths. Salaries fall, promotional opportunities diminish, and morale suffers. Hardly a fun place to work. The opposite we hope we talk about here, which is creating the good team. I always like the word good. I wrote a book about the good manager. I talk about good leaders. Good means something that's positive, something that's better. You can say a team. It doesn't do any good to create a team. It's not that hard to create. But to create a good team, one that works productively and accomplishes its objectives, is much harder to do. So we want to start with what we're going to be talking about specifically that's going to result, the consequence is going to be a good team. We're going to talk about the challenges with teams, and there are challenges, but teams are good. We start, if we want to create a good team, with good people. And how do you bring these good people to the team, and what kind of attributes did each of these people bring? Then we'll talk about managing the team and making team decisions, and all that culminates into three aspects that I think are common in just about every team. In these PowerPoints and also these discussions, there's so many aspects that we can converse about. We can literally spend hours talking about a good team. Then we can talk about 8 and 10 and 12 bullets that we should do on each of these slides. I try to concentrate on 3 or 4 or 5 bullets, the most important. Are there other aspects? Certainly. But I try to concentrate on the most important because then we have a chance to remember them. When we get to our last slides, we kind of look at, oh, there's only 3 aspects I need to concentrate on. I think I can remember that. I think I can do that. We'll start in our discussion with a quote. Our life is not judged by what we take when we're here, but by what we leave when we're gone. As an individual, we can accomplish some things. As a team, we may be able to accomplish everything. We accomplish more with teams because we have more abilities, more knowledges, more competencies, more capabilities. We have more. And if we have more, we can hopefully do more. So can you imagine, as an organization or just as a people, how our generation can be viewed by subsequent generations if we all work collectively and for the common good? That's what that quote means. We work together as a team if we know what it takes to be part of a team, if we know what we need to bring in order to become a part of a productive team, and then to work collaboratively in the team in the pursuit of some type of goal that everybody thinks is worthwhile. We really have a chance to make a better world. So much of what we do in education, by the way, is about creating this better world. Martin Luther King, who was certainly one of the most hallowed men that ever walked this earth, really talked about education for much of his career. And he talked about that the educated person should live well, think wisely, and act sensibly. Live well, act wisely, and also sensibly. And those words really were talking about how education could help improve upon your conditions in life. That's what we hope we do today, that our discussions on teams helps improve our conditions on life and that we collectively can work to make anything better. So we'll start with the challenges of teams. We start with the negative, right? So we start with the challenges. And there's 4 principal challenges that we often see with teams. These are common in organizations or social teams as well. One is this focus on the individual. This is something that's quite interesting in today's world, actually. We seem to, collectively, like to promote the individual aspects of ourselves rather than the collective aspects. In the United States, if you were to look at any of our paper bills, it says something like e plural unum, which means out of many we become one. So the thought was that everybody would work collaboratively to make the country better. That works in any country that you work in, right? That everybody needs to contribute their own types of skills. And if they can do that, then collectively, the country, who's ever then in the country, advances. But there is this push to highlight the individual aspects, the uniqueness of each person. There's something laudatory about that, of course. But just as much as we promote the individual nature of a human being, we also have to really promote how much more these individuals can do as a collective. And I think that's getting lost in some ways. We have to recapture that we're part of something. And if we work together with that something, that we all can produce something even greater. Even in organizations, this individual spirit that we have socially is one that we bring into the organization, and it can hinder some of our abilities to work in some type of unit, or at least in coordinated fashion. That is a challenge of today. How do you overcome it? It is tough. It's tough to overcome, especially for organizations to overcome, because this is an issue that socially is occurring. But it's one that we certainly have to recognize. We want to promote the individualistic nature of an individual, their pursuit to be separate, unique than others, but also that there should be a part that they work collaboratively. Another challenge is time. You hear so much from people that it's difficult to find the time to get anything done. And that's because there's so many more competitive aspects that we have in a day for our time. The average person spends about 9 hours on some type of technology, TV, their phone. The average person, I believe, picks up their phone 100 times a day. I thought that was way too much, and then I looked at my own phone, and I pick up my phone about 80 times a day. I would have never thought that if there wasn't an app that tracks how many times you pick up your phone. Doesn't mean you do anything with your phone, but you pick up your phone. So because we have so many things that compete for our time, we find that we have less time to accomplish something of importance. So time impacts a team's ability to accomplish their objective. It also impacts their ability to bond, because you need to have opportunities for interactions, opportunities for people to get together to know each other, to create these kinds of bonds that we like. Third is resources. Time is, of course, a resource, and so I decided to separate these out. This is the space, money, material, staff. These are the aspects that a team needs in order to accomplish their objectives. We used to say that they needed office space. That's less important, because with Zoom and other aspects, you really don't need to have an office space. But you probably need some money. People have to get paid, but also if you want to buy materials in order to better accomplish your objective, that's important. If you need to go on trainings or you need to go on conferences, those are the resources that teams often need to do better. And the last may be as important as the individual, which is one reason I put it kind of diagonal from the other, which is avoiding the thought that we all have to be the same and think the same. Kind of sounds interesting when I was talking about individual, right? This isn't just about thinking the same. And it's a coordinated, concentrated effort to make sure that we bring different people on the team, people who think differently. If we only needed people who thought like us on the team, we'd only need one person. We need a team to do the work, but not to think about how to do the work. And what we know about today's world is it's much more important how you think, the logic that a person possesses in their mind, than actually how their work is being done. I've talked continually that 88% of jobs lost today are because we don't need humans to accomplish it. So we need fewer people to actually do the work, especially physical work, but we need more people who can think about the work, who can think about things in different, unique, and innovative ways. So the challenges of teams is to think less as an individual, to use and develop more time, to create more time to bond as a team, to have enough sufficient, whatever it may be, resources, so that the team is not wanting anything to accomplish their objectives. And you want to avoid what is often known as groupthink, but where people think and act exactly the same. They're devoted to the cause, but they bring different perspectives. Those are some of the challenges with teams. It reminds me that as we move towards the next part, which is about members, is if you don't like the ride, try another amusement park. I came up with this saying some years ago. Kind of like it. And what it basically says is if there's something that you don't like, there's usually another place to shop. There's usually more friends to have. We often think that we can't change our situations in life. We absolutely can. If we have more control over our lives, that means that we can make different and better decisions. In fact, we have more ability to change the direction in our own lives than others do to impact the direction that we aspire to follow. As we talk about teams, some teams don't work for everybody. Some groups don't work for everybody. Some organizations don't work for everybody. And so as we look at the type of team that we want to be a member of, just remember, if you don't like the ride, try another amusement park. That means we need to go somewhere else. We need to go where we feel comfortable and wanted. And when we do, we should remember that teams really are good. There's a great ability of teams to accomplish so much more as a collective. 5 really basic reasons why we need to have teams. So when we talk about join another team or go to another amusement park, if you don't like your team, go to one that you like, because there's so much more that can be done. What can be done? Let's talk about that. Security. Teams give people security. It reduces the insecurity of standing alone. People feel stronger when they're with someone else. They have less self-doubt, and they're less resistant to be impacted by people who may be threatening to them. There's a great status in being part of a team, especially if it's a team that is one that's prominent within your community. It's this group inclusion, and it provides this recognition and status for its members. People feel they're part of something, and the team is actually a grand one. There's some that go to college and they're part of a certain fraternity, sorority, or social group. And that social group, it continues after you leave college. There's community social groups that people can join, from the Lions to the Rotary. There's a host of them, and they all provide some type of status. There's some people that are in certain golf courses, and they want to be in the best golf course because it conveys this kind of status. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but that's what teams do. Teams also help boost a person's self-esteem. Members share information and knowledge and ideas which make them feel more intelligent, more, in fact, worthy. Another aspect of a team is this affiliation aspect. People enjoy this regular interactions. Remember when I said opportunities for interaction? That's what we mean. That's where people come together during their membership, whether it's the monthly meeting, or there's some that have dinners every month. They have emails that go out every so often. It's this feeling a part of not only a project that accomplishes something of value, but you feel needed and wanted, this affiliation. Finally, achievement. We've talked so much about it in our presentation so far. It often takes more than one person to accomplish a particular task. So here with teams, we pull our talents, knowledge, and power in order to accomplish a job. Pretty good, right? It's pretty good because so much is accomplished when we all work together. Basketball is a great example. When you look at these 5 people on a basketball team that work together, the hope is that they have similar ambitions and similar talents, and collectively they're able to win the game and hopefully win the season. Because more than anything, drama belongs in the theater. When we look at what derails teams, it's often this thing that we call drama. And drama doesn't belong in teams. It doesn't belong in organizations. It's very difficult when it also it becomes a component of a person's lifestyle. That is what they bring into the groups, and that can be quite destructive. So, leaving the drama in the theater, we realize that if we want to be part of a group, we need to start with what we call good people. So people bring certain attributes to a team, and I spent some time trying to think about the most important attributes that people can bring to a team. We'll talk about that for the next couple of minutes, but it starts with the ability to do the job. They have to have the knowledge, skills, education, experiences, trainings, licenses required of the position. They have to know what they do. They also have to be motivated to do the job. There's many people who are motivated to do it, or at least have the ability to do a job, but not motivated to do the job. They don't want to do it. I talk continually. My parents still are in ranching, farming, and since I was quite little, I spent much of my time on the ranch, and we used to have to dig ditches and do irrigations, and it wasn't the funnest job. And I certainly had the ability to do the job, but I really wasn't that motivated. We had to do it, of course. It was family business. But it was one that if I could choose not to do it, I would have, but I had to do it. When we all went to college, and after that, none of us actually continued to work in the ranch, though every year we still go back and do some work on it. We look back kind of lovingly, like that was a great time. But I remember when we were younger, it was less of a great time. Time. It makes everything that we look back in revisionist history appear so much greater. Third is manageable once they're on the job. Someone who's secure and unselfish and works well with others is what we want within their position. If we have enough people like that, then it helps to create this kind of conducive team. And then if we have that type of person, we want to put them in a good environment. We want to have them work for a person who is a good supervisor or manager. We want to make sure that they have the right technology and even good coworkers. That's what we look for with good people. And more than anything, once they have those basic skills, when we choose to pick people to be on the team, we really look for four characteristics. Four characteristics. We want somebody, again, who has the ability, knowledge, and they're manageable. But once they have those characteristics, we want them to possess four things from within an organization or from within a society. We want them to have this knowledge, this credibility, this access, and an organizational skill. Knowledge, they should have the knowledge necessary to understand, discuss, and address the issue or the task of the day. Whatever the main reason a team was created, those on the team have to be knowledgeable. They have to be credible. They have to be respected individuals who are viewed as a key and important contributor to the cause. That gives them not only entry into the group, but once in the group, once they make statements and offer their opinions and perspectives, then it's viewed as credible. Access. Those brought onto a team, especially within an organization, have to have access to information, individuals, and materials to address the issue or the cause. We want to pull people from the organization who have a solid understanding of the organization, access to key people in the organization. We often call them change agents. And finally, those individuals brought in have to be organized. They have to have the planning and time management skills to meet their responsibilities. So once the tasks are determined, these individuals, those on the team, have to be able to accomplish those types of tasks. And as we look at these individual characteristics for a person, I'm always reminded that everyone has something. And what you do with that something can make you a somebody. So as we talk about the different nature of people on a team, we have to, at our forefront, remember that every single person on that team has something to offer. But those people have to do something with what they have. And if they do, that will make them a somebody. Not just in this team, actually for life. Managing the team. This is where supervisors and managers come in, but also individuals within the team. In order to best manage a team, there's a couple of aspects that we need to concentrate on. We have to really concentrate on this aspect called commonality, and you've heard me mention it several times. The more in common that people have, the easier it is for people to work together. You have a greater chance to create relationships, and these relationships create bonds between people in a group. So as you manage a team, figure out how people can have more and more and more in common. Within the team, managers and supervisors want to bring out their strengths and weaknesses. Yes, weaknesses of each member. Once we know what your weaknesses are, we try to find out others in the team who may have a strength in that area. One of the easiest is PowerPoints and writing. Some people are great writers and don't do well in PowerPoints. Some people do well in PowerPoints but don't write as well. So you want to find out what a person's strength is and use that. But don't forget that if you only concentrate on the person's strength, you can never develop their weakness too. So as you utilize and take advantage of a person's strengths, remember to try to work on their weaknesses as well. Third, clear rules and expectations. We've all heard this. We know the expectations, and they should be quite apparent. But individuals have to perform what is expected. That work has to be completed as time, meetings attended as requested, conduct exhibited as expected and required. And managing a team has to involve an element of fun. Work, sadly, often implies drudgery and effort. I talk to so many people that say, I don't like my job. If I could have a different job, I would. We must create work that's interesting and that the times people spend in this team and at work is fun, where people want to be there. If you want to be there, you often spend more time there. And you also work harder at the work that's required because you enjoy the experiences that you have there. One of the aspects of managing teams is making better decisions. It's one of the reasons why we have teams in general, right? We want to make better decisions. We include people in a team so that we can utilize their backgrounds and also their perspectives, their foresight, to make better decisions. How do we make better decisions as a team? There's a couple things that we can talk about. Have small teams. Large groups don't necessarily mean more perspectives. In fact, at some point, you tend to get the same perspectives. That's when you want to limit the size of the group. Small teams is a good aspect, a good strategy. Second, listen first, decide last. I use this quite a bit, even when I talk about decision making. Listen to everybody's central point first before you offer any type of findings or conclusions. That often means that you tell somebody you have a minute to make your point, or you have one point that you can make, only one. Make sure that you make that point. The whole team doesn't necessarily have to spend their time while you try to figure out what to say. We need to say first as a team member what's most important, and that takes great advantage of the group's time, and then it also concentrates on that singular issue. Once you have a small group and everybody has given their point, then you take a straw poll. It gives team a sense of where they stand, and it may also influence a position or group. If you have 6 people on a team and 5 people are leaning one way and one the other, that other person may say, what am I missing? What am I not taking into consideration? Lastly, control. Control your ambition and emotions. This is the most important, of course, in any type of team decisions that we make. Individual ambitions and individual emotions can and will destroy nearly any team and nearly any decision. If a person can't control their ambitions and emotions, it is very difficult to make team decisions, and it's also very difficult to make individual decisions as well. That leads us to a good team. What is a good team? You'll notice I just look at 3 aspects. If I was out there in any organization, and I have, as I do consulting or speeches on many aspects of what makes an organization great, when I come to good teams, it comes down to 3 aspects. First, you have to have talent. You can't have a high talent team with low talent individuals. You start with talent, and then you add more talent. It is more difficult, not impossible, but more difficult to fail when you have talent on a team. 2, you have to have a goal that's meaningful and worthwhile. Some people say common goal. There's some common goals that aren't inspiring. There's one that doesn't excite or enthuse people. We need actually the opposite in order to create a good team. We have to have a goal that people think is meaningful and worthwhile. That's a key. Last but certainly not least, that you like the people on your team. You work harder for those you like and for those that you enjoy spending your time with. It is fun. People want to spend as much time as they can doing things when it's fun. So a good team, they start with talent, they have a goal that's worthwhile and meaningful, and they like the people on the team. If you remember some of the challenges with teams and some of the traits that people need to bring with teams, if you like the people on your team, you're going to respect them. You're going to appreciate their contributions, even some of their quirks that a person may have. You may say, but I like them. When you're kind and people like you, they give you so many passes in life. Those are the people we often want on the team because they make us feel good. Finally, I'll end you with this quote. In the end, we must do something in order to be something. And you see that as a thread throughout our entire presentation. Teams accomplish more than individuals. So if we want to be something, then we have to do something collectively with our friends and neighbors, even those that we may not agree with. Because as a collective, we can do so much more as an individual. And when we think of a town and a state and a country and even the world, if we worked even so much more collaboratively and collectively, there's really very little that we can't change and improve upon in the standard of living of not just where we live, but just where everyone lives. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the day.